This episode of the Concierge CPA is brought to you by Tax Plan IQ and our new growth subscription. We give up to 5 users at a tax advisory firm up to 5 hours of CPE. And if you're an accountant, do the math. That's a lot of CPE, almost as much as you need in an entire year for your education. Every month we have a different tax theme. Last month was real estate. This month is retirement planning. Join us. Join the revolution. Welcome to the Concierge CPA. I'm Jackie Meyer, founder of the Concierge Accountant Program and Tax Plan IQ software. This is a podcast for accounting firm owners and influencers who are pursuing world-class service. We discuss their path to excellence, their daily habits, and what influences them and their work. We believe that every person has a unique message that can positively impact the world. Stick around till the end of the show. We'll reveal how you can be our next guest. Let's go, y'all. Welcome to the Concierge CPA podcast, where we get to the bottom line for entrepreneurs and accountants alike. I have Michael Scherer here with us today with RCX Capital, and they have quite an interesting solution that I think our listeners will be really interested about. So welcome to the show. I'm excited to chat with you, deep dive, geek out a little bit about some tax strategies and whatnot.
Hi, Jackie. Great to be here. Thrilled to participate today.
Awesome. So tell me a bit about your company and how did you get to where you're at today?
Yeah, no, great question. A little bit about my history. I worked in a family office environment for a company that was really a pioneer in the Delaware Statutory Trust in the 1031 process, and quickly realized that 1031 exchanges, which is really what we specialize in, is a very complex sale and solution. And in order to help key advisors, whether it's a CPA or an RAA, we realized that we really needed to take a more collaborative approach. And that was really candidly the genesis of RCX Capital Group, was to create a firm that could partner with CPA and RAAs to help them help their clients with even the most complex 1031 exchanges.
Okay. Wow. Okay. A lot to unpack there. So what makes 1031 so complex? Tell us more about that.
Well, I think from a complexity standpoint, every 1031 exchange is going to be different. So in order to help exchangers navigate not only the rules around a 1031 exchange, but to really give them that solution agnostic, product agnostic advice, you really need to have a full complement of 1031 exchange alternatives and really have the time to devote to guiding them almost like a Sherpa throughout the 1031 exchange life cycle, which, as you know, could run up to a year or more, depending on how much planning is done on the front end.
Sure. Yeah. So, there's certain little tips and tricks that I like to throw out there around 1031 exchanges that people can get trapped in. One, you always have to have a qualified intermediary, right? And so if you're not having someone collect and kind of broker the funds for you, you've essentially messed up the whole transaction, right? Do you see
You're
that
absolutely
happening?
right. And we've seen that so many times. It's really unfortunate, that something as simple as just making sure that exchanger knows to set up their paperwork with a qualified intermediary to bring optionality. It doesn't mean you have to facilitate a 1031 exchange, but while you're evaluating your options, it is a key component. Otherwise, if you take receipt of the proceeds, you're going to disqualify your 1031 exchange, and then you have to look at other solutions on the back end to help to defer or mitigate that tax liability.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And there's certain states that don't necessarily recognize like-kind exchanges like others. Is that correct?
Well, I think, first of all, 1031 exchange, we've done exchanges in all states. Section 1031 of the code is very, very broad. So I would probably kick back a little bit on that.
Oh, okay. Interesting. So I know, I believe California does some adjustments at a state level that's a little wonky when it comes to like kind of exchanges, or the reporting gets a little bit more cumbersome, something along those lines. So
That
definitely
is
something to look out
that is
for.
true for sure.
Okay.
Certain states from a reporting standpoint, but again, the code, access to the code, and the right to use Section 1031 is available for all investors in real estate. You're going to get granular. There are certain things with specific states you have to be careful of, but that's where we work together with, again, the tax advisor, legal team, the entire team working on the 1031 exchange to mitigate and understand all of the rules and the impacts of that specific exchange.
Okay, perfect. So what are some other things to kind of look out for, and who's a good, I guess, how would a tax advisor identify the right clientele for like kind of exchanges?
Yeah. So here's the way I kind of look at the landscape. I think you have this major push to become advisory centric, whether you're an investment advisor, a registered investment advisor, or a CPA. Section 1031 and delivering 1031 solutions is part of that solution set that I think is going to grow that client base, right? To your question, how do you identify those folks? Well, when you look at how people are building wealth today in this country, a bulk of it is coming from closely held investment real estate, whether they own commercial investment properties, whether it's a business and they own the underlying real estate, whether it's a doctor that has decided they want to invest in single family rental or short-term rental properties. It's up to the trusted advisor, again, whether that's the RA or the CPA, to ask those questions. Do you own investment real estate? What is your exit plan when you ultimately want to sell that real estate, right? So I think just the get to know your customer steps of understanding how and where their wealth came from is probably the first step.
Okay, gotcha. So yeah, if they're interested in real estate investing or have several properties, you could ask questions like, do you think you'll be holding on to this for a long period of time? Or are you looking to maybe flip it? Or what kind of gain might there be in this property? Because there's quite huge capital gains that can be recognized if you don't do tax deferral or elimination strategies, right?
Right. You're absolutely right. You've got depreciation recapture, and you've got, the capital gains tax. So when we typically model that, together with the tax advisor, we see taxes upwards of 30%. So, I think exchangers, again, depending on the size of the gain, should really look at facilitating a 1031 exchange. There's a lot of opportunities and optionality in the exchange universe that they have access to that qualifies as like kind. And it's our job as consultants to make them aware of those options.
Okay, yeah. And I guess another little tip to mention for our listeners is the fact that the like kind exchange used to qualify a lot of different types of property. Now it's specific to real estate and investment property. Is that correct?
That's right.
Okay.
So it really needs to qualify as real estate, right? And investment real estate. But then when you get into the type of real estate, it could be multifamily, it could be an industrial building, it could be retail. And then there's different ways to access that investment, whether you're looking at a security, something like a Delaware Statutory Trust, whether you're investing through a TIC structure, tenant common structure, or if you just want to buy the real estate directly through a real estate broker, you want to go out and buy a single family rental property. You have a ton of options.
Okay. So tell us a little bit more about using a Delaware Statutory Trust.
Yeah, sure. So a Delaware Statutory Trust is a very unique structure. It was approved by the IRS, I believe, in 2003. And it is a structure that basically owns institutional quality real estate. It's managed professionally by a real estate sponsor. This is a going to be a real estate company that buys and manages real estate professionally.
Okay.
And then they're going to sell fractional ownership interests to exchangers that are looking to complete an exchange. And it's passive in nature. There's pros and cons to a DST. The pros are you have immediate access to off-the-shelf inventory. It's professionally managed. Some of the cons are, you don't control the disposition of the asset. When it's sold is going to be determined by the sponsor. You're trusting the sponsor to know when to go full cycle with that investment. But you're able to build diversified portfolios using DSTs because you can invest as little as $100,000 into a Delaware Statutory Trust. So it's a really unique structure that is solving a really important need in the marketplace, and that's for those investors that want to build diversification, want passive ownership in real estate, and want it to be professionally managed.
Okay, and so do you kind of help connect people with these? Would you call it an alternative investment per se, or?
Absolutely. I'd lump it into the real estate alternative space, right?
Okay.
So that's kind of the area that we're trafficking in. And we are a connector, right? We solve the needs of exchangers. We want to listen to what their goals are in the exchange. And then it's our goal to find the solution that delivers the best outcome in line with their objectives.
Yeah. Now, why is it so important for advisors, accountants, et cetera, to work with a company like yours to do these things?
Yeah. So, I think, again, I think the theme that we're seeing, and this is why Tax Plan IQ is so valuable, is we're seeing this shift to becoming more advisory centric, right? So that's one. Whether that trend is within the CPA space, or within the RIA space, the ability to deliver more comprehensive solutions is critical, right? So that's the trend that we're seeing. The solution as a whole, when you consider the trillions of dollars that is held in investment real estate in this country, whether it's farmland, commercial real estate, single family rental, short-term rental, we think that building a practice area around 1031 and tax advantage real estate in general is just filling a void in the market, right? And if you don't have that service and if you're not thinking about delivering that service, then I think you run the risk of being disintermediated when you have that client with a 1031 exchange need. They're calling another advisor out there. So that's what we're helping to solve.
Okay, awesome. I love it. And what makes you particularly, though, in your company, RCX, extra special or unique? Like, how do you stand out in the marketplace?
Yeah. And, when we look at like how our firm is positioned, one, we have a few kind of cornerstone beliefs. One, we've got to listen first, and we've got to deliver a comprehensive set of solutions, right? So how we positioned our company is under the following kind of pillars, right? We have a technology solution, and we deliver our services in the CPA's brand in collaboration with the CPA or RIA. So it's not about our brand.
It's labeling it, so to speak.
Exactly.
Okay.
All right. So that's kind of the first criteria, is making sure we're a steward of our partner's brand. Number two is delivering a full set of options to the investor, right? So that's going to include things like securities, right? Something like a Delaware Statutory Trust. We're going to look at other tenant and common sponsors, right? If we have a client that's looking for a TIC interest, we can reach out to sponsors in our network, find a sponsor with a product that fits the need. And then going direct or more customized solutions, I think we excel at, whether that's a family office with $30 million in exchange proceeds, and they want to partner with another real estate sponsor and create a structure that works for all parties. So really working on simple, hey, we've got a small 1031 exchange. Let's find the solution for that client, to more complex, large, customized exchanges. We can really deliver a full suite of optionality which I think our partner firms really, really love.
Yeah, that's awesome. And have you kind of figured out the secret sauce for keeping the partner firms up to date, up to speed with communications and, knowing that you've really got it under control?
So if I understand that question correctly, we spend a lot of time on communication.
Yeah.
I think if I'm going to focus on communication, I'm going to focus on a few key criteria, right? I think the first thing is, hey, you have a 1031 platform now. How do you socialize that and educate the firm to help them educate their clients in terms of the capabilities, right? So I think that is first and foremost. Number two, it's how do we communicate effectively with our partners and their clients when they have an actual 1031 exchange, right? And that's where we devote the time, the effort to educating, right? Making sure they know their options, and then facilitating the conversation, and then bringing the optionality when we go to actually deliver the portfolio allocation and the recommendation. We deliver all of that in concert together with the trusted advisor, who is going to be typically the user of Tax Plan IQ.
Yeah. Love it. Okay. That sounds great. Now, what does the future look like? Is there talk of any changes to the tax regs around like kind of exchanges? I haven't heard anything, but I don't know if you have any special insight there.
Yeah, I'm often asked this question, and I think it's a great question. But what I can tell you is 1031 exchange always comes up in conversation as the government looks for sources of revenue, right? And I've had the fortune to know several people who are very tied into specific groups. And while this isn't a prediction, I think 1031 exchange is such a valuable solution for so many different bodies, whether it's National Association of Realtors, whether it's qualified intermediaries, lenders, that if they were to do away with 1031 exchange, it would have significant economic impact on a national level. I could see an environment where they might cap gains at a specific level, but I still think even something like that would be very, very hard to push through. But again, those groups out there fighting for 1031 exchange really speak to the benefits of 1031 exchange, the velocity of money, the impact it has on so many different professionals across the country, and I think it'd be a real challenge to do away with it.
Okay. Yeah. No, I think that's really well said for sure. Um, what's the kind of the cost benefit of doing a like kind of exchange? Like, what kind of gain are we looking to defer with the costs involved? I mean, if someone has a $50,000 gain, are you like, that's not necessarily enough or a good fit for a like kind of exchange, or is it really flexible?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think you have to look at so many different factors when you begin that kind of discovery conversation with the potential exchanger. And, things like, well, do you need liquidity, right? What are your goals? And a lot of the goals are going to be shared from the RAA and the tax advisor as well. So, the last thing we want to do is, if someone has a lot of their wealth tied into real estate, and they have a $50,000 gain, that, maybe they don't want to 1031 exchange that and keep it captive in real estate. Maybe they're just better off paying the tax or looking at an alternative strategy. So we model out every exchange and we look at, okay, if we facilitate a 1031 exchange, what does that ROI look like over time? And if we don't, and we pay the tax and you have the option to invest in other strategies, what does that look like, right? And that's kind of the basis for starting the conversation, is just looking at the goals, what are the liquidity and return objectives of the client, and then making team-based decisions on the best path to follow.
Yeah. Okay. Good deal. Talking a little bit more about the accounting profession or whatnot, Is there a particular piece of advice that you may give an accountant if they're looking to start adding more advisory services into their portfolio and start working with companies like yours to offer it?
Yeah. So when I'm going to kind of echo a comment that I made before, right? So I think there's a lot of advisory services that are available to accountants that center on real estate, right? Whether it's something like cost segregation or something else, I think there's real opportunity to deliver advisory planning solutions around real estate. And I would say if you're even contemplating adding, real estate tax planning solutions, right? And you more than anyone know all the strategies that are available. The question is, why wouldn't you add 1031 exchange? Because it's just something that is going to complement your existing offering. And in doing so, what you're doing is you're creating another touch point, another opportunity to entrench yourself with that client and drive your value proposition. I would say that the biggest challenge and where I would focus a lot of the attention if I am a CPA and I'm becoming more advisory centric is think about building the awareness and the outreach and the education, because I think that's going to ultimately drive success, regardless of the strategy.
Okay. So let's hone in on that a little bit more. How would you suggest that they do that? What are some practical ways you think?
Specifically in 1031 exchange or just in advisory services in general?
Let's do advisory in general first.
Okay. So, I think, the focus is, becoming more advisory centric, right? And, I think the first step is make sure they're connecting with you. You have so many amazing strategies on your platform. And I think your software does a great job of identifying strategies in real-time situations, right?
Thank you.
So first of all, you're going to have that kind of driver. And I think you need to have the technology framework to deliver that. And I think, again, starting with Tax Plan IQ, that's the start. The next thing is finding the right services that fit your practice, right? So, you want to drive towards being more comprehensive, but that might not be realistic for some of the smaller CPA firms. So you really got to find your identity. You want to find something that fits, and you want to find something that isn't going to be a massive time drain, right? Yeah. And that's where I think looking at those solutions that can be outsourced, but delivered within your brand, where you can spend time kind of guiding the process, but you have a trusted team that operates in your brand to deliver that solution, is where I would really focus the time and the effort.
Okay. I like that. And then what about narrowing in on 1031 strategies in particular? How would you suggest someone kind of deep dive into feeling like more of an expert, working with the right, having the right people surrounding them?
Yeah. So here's kind of the way we approach it, right? And I think if we're approaching it this way, most 1031 specialists are approaching it the same way. First and foremost, understand the role of the qualified intermediary, right? And understand that there's a lot of great qualified intermediaries across the country. Some large, some small. They're not all created equal.
Okay.
Some will have, technology that helps facilitate the paperwork. Some are going to have great educational resources on the back end to kind of support the education of your client base. But you really want to find 2 or 3 great qualified intermediaries that you can essentially partner with, because if they know you have 1031 services, they could be a great referral partner for you, right? So when they come across exchanges, they can introduce you to that. They can introduce the exchanger to qualified intermediary and vice versa. They'll have an exchanger. They can introduce you to the CPA firm.
Yeah.
But then it's understanding that once you start that 1031 exchange process, right, there are a slew of options. You want to work with a team. And candidly, I think we have a fantastic team that is product agnostic, solution agnostic, that is going to put the exchanger's best interest first, right? And that is, hey, if it's a simple exchange, if it's a complex exchange where they want to pull liquidity out of the 1031 exchange, how do we do that? How do we do that in a tax efficient manner? You want to work with a firm with robust national capabilities, because I think those capabilities and the expertise within the firm are going to drive that. Again, we always say the word optimal outcomes. That's what's going to drive those optimal outcomes for the clients.
Okay. I'm curious if there's like a particular case with a client that you've worked with that maybe went off the rails and you got back on track and you're like super excited about it, or you just had an immense amount of savings. Can you think of an example of something like that where it was just really unique or special to you when it comes to the savings involved?
Yeah. So if I can, I might talk about two examples,
Okay,
right?
yeah, I'd love to hear that.
Because I think it's kind of important, but it's also going to give your audience some color into some of the unique options available in the 1031 space. So the first one is we had the sale of a farm, right? But within that farm, there were some operating entities that have eligible gains. So we put together a very unique portfolio that combined actually 1031 exchange and opportunity zones, right?
Oh, fun.
To achieve that optimal outcome, right? Because you had other eligible gains, you had the sale of the farmland, and we're often thinking about 1031 exchange, but we can always pull together these other strategies, right, that can work in concert with a 1031 exchange to deliver an outcome, right? So I thought that was exceptionally unique. It's actually one of the case studies that we've written about, because again, it just shows you that, hey, we take in the information and we design the solution to create an optimal outcome for the client. So I think that's the first case study.
Okay.
The second one is a strategy called a zero cash flow DST, right?
Okay.
And this is Delaware Statutory Trust. And there's one strategy that I think really provides some amazing benefits and also hits the mark from a regulation BI as a securities professional. That's regulation best interest. And this zero cash flow DST has a option for the exchanger to refinance out up to 85% of their equity in a specific 1031 exchange, right? So again, this is their equity.
I've never heard of this one. I like it. Let's keep going.
Yeah. So when you look at a strategy like that and you're really trying to solve real problems, we have seen the application of strategies like this solve the need for a family office to extend their 1031 exchange timeline, so they can 1031 exchange into this product. They have the option to refinance out proceeds. Once those proceeds are refinanced out, they're not under the 45-day ID, 180-day close window of 1031 exchange. They can be a patient investor, right? If they want to go back directly into real estate. For advisors, well, this could be an opportunity to help that client, if they're real estate rich, invest in alternative strategies that might provide more liquidity, a higher rate return profile. So we're seeing unique strategies like that can be incorporated into an option set for a client that can really provide some unique benefits. Talk to several firms that are interested in sale leaseback, right? So think of it this way. You've got a business, they want to sell the real estate, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they need capital to fund the business or future growth or hire more people. Well, that zero cash flow DST with the optional refinancing could be a unique line of capital, right, to fund future growth. So we try to listen to the needs, but we have some great solutions that are a little more sophisticated that can really fill, when I say fill, I guess hit the mark in terms of a solution set for that exchanger. And in today's environment, we're seeing a significant demand increase for solutions like that.
Yeah, no, that sounds really amazing to kind of layer the strategies, customize it all together. That's right up my alley. I love to geek out on that kind of stuff. So do you have these kind of case studies on your website? Is there a place that people can go check that out?
Yeah, so we have them within, remember how I mentioned we have a proprietary technology platform that helps us
Yes, I was wondering when you were going to bring that up.
Yeah, so what we do is, first of all, we try to put that material in your amazing platform, right? From an educational standpoint, they can access some of those materials in your platform and in those case
Of
studies.
course, yeah. We'll make sure it's in the resource section in Tax Plan IQ for sure.
Yeah, but when we deliver advice, we provide that white label dashboard, and then we try to customize the outreach material for the partner firm, right? So we're not a build it and they will come. We understand that, when you're first marketing a new service or solution, there's that period of outreach. There's that time where you really need to educate your clients. So we have a folder in that platform that is basically overview materials, right? It's our repository that is just readily available for the advisors, for their investors to access. So it's always at the ready. You have a question about something, well, here's a one pager that very concisely talks through what you need to know.
Yeah, that's awesome. What inspired you to create this platform to do your, day-to-day interactions, and what do you think like the top benefits are of it?
Yeah, so I think the top benefits are the following. One, you have a marketplace of options, right? Where we can design and build portfolios on the fly, look at options side by side. And we're doing that, primarily the same way we're doing it now in Zoom, right? Now, we have a lot of face-to-face meetings, but when you're a national practice group, sometimes it's not feasible to be everywhere all the time. So the ability to deliver that in a white label platform, and act as an extension of our partners team, the technology helps to facilitate so we can see all those options, right?
Yeah.
And then on the back end, we have the educational materials so that our partner firms and their investors have everything that they could need to know. We can build in kind of their qualified intermediary solution on the back end so that when they have an exchange, we're there to help facilitate it, be that again, I use the word Sherpa, but we really are a guide throughout the process. The process takes, planning, facilitation, execution, and then investment monitoring, right? And the technology provides all those things in a seamless way.
Yeah, I mean, y'all showed me your solution, and it's really unique. I haven't seen anything quite like it. It's very impressive. So what did inspire it? Did you notice you were kind of just the need for it, a missing gap in the marketplace? Or was it more like we are doing the same thing over and over again by supplying this education? How can we package it all together better?
Yeah, well, it comes to that opportunity, right? You have so much wealth in this country tied into investment real estate, yet we weren't seeing the advice generated through, again, the Registered Investment Advisor Network or the CPA network. They just weren't aware of, 1031 exchange. We were seeing people that were paying tax. So we said there needs to be a better way, and we really have to put a lot of thought into how we deliver a solution, right? So we designed the technology. While it's very simple, it's designed to give that collaborative advice or collaborative consultation in our partner's brand. But the void was, look at the opportunity that's being lost because people aren't aware, and because 1031 exchange
is cost, huh?
Yeah, well, yeah, like you're paying tax, right?
Yeah.
If you what can you achieve if you're able to defer that and invest that money, and you become kind of that serial 1031 exchanger? The wealth building opportunity is enormous, but it is a solution because of the complexities that makes it ripe to be outsourced, right? It's something that's hard to internalize, right? Because there's a lot of moving parts. So we've decided we just want to be a best-in-class outsourced partner, and we want to do it really, really thoughtfully.
Very cool. Very cool. Okay. So as we kind of wrap up for today, what have we not discussed that you think is important for our audience, whether it's, like-kind exchange related or not? Is there anything else that you wanted to make sure and talk about?
I think the thing that I would just like to emphasize, and I think this is really important, and I think oftentimes it's lost. If I could leave people with just some things to look for when you're looking for a specialist,
Okay.
I think that would be important. So in the 1031 world, I think you want to make sure that you're working with a provider that is sponsor agnostic, product agnostic, right? So do they have the ability to search for opportunities on a national basis with a variety of real estate sponsors? Because I think with that sort of construct, you're going to have a lot of options that you can choose from. So I think that's first and foremost.
Okay.
I think the second thing is look for someone that is duly licensed. I think you will find that, there are structures that qualify as a security, and you need to be a licensed professional, whether that is a broker dealer or a registered investment advisor, to offer those investments. And then you have this whole other world of investing directly, right? Single family rental, short-term rental. Maybe you want to go out and buy a triple net lease car wash, right? A lot of the people on our platform are duly licensed, right? So if the exchanger says, you know what, I understand what a Delaware Statutory Trust provides, but I want to be more active. I want to participate more, and I want to find something that maybe I can actively manage. Does the service have the ability to accommodate that? And is the team going to find opportunities through their network to help you complete that 1031 exchange? Most of what I've seen in the industry falls short in those two key things, because you want objective advice, because I think with objectivity, you're going to get, again, that optimal outcome that you're looking for.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's really, really good feedback. I hadn't thought about that aspect, but those are great points. I appreciate it. Okay. Final question. I always love to ask people, what is your favorite book or TEDx talk or something that stands out to you that you try to recommend to everybody that you run into?
Yeah, no. There's a lot of great resources out there. And while I tend to be a fan because of my attention span of those short snippets of factual information in 2 or 3 pages, I think the book that really resonates me is Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Oh, yes, that is a classic. I love that book.
And part of it is because it kind of hits on kind of what I believe, right? I think you have the ability through the tax code, if you use it effectively, to keep more of what you earn, right? So that's number one, is the tax code is there for a reason. I think it's up to investors and tax advisors to think strategically on how they utilize it to maximize the return for investors, right? But the real wealth that I've seen built, and this is why I recommend the book, is through those passive strategies of buying assets and leveraging strategies to invest in a tax efficient manner, is where I've seen most of the wealth created. And I think Rich Dad, Poor Dad, while it doesn't talk specifically to the IRS code, it talks about just getting involved in alternative ways and growing your wealth through investing opportunistically. And, I think when we look at Section 1031 exchange, that's exactly what we're doing.
Yeah, for sure. So just in case our listeners are not aware, that's Robert Kiyosaki. My dad actually brought over a board game that he had created. I don't know if it was 20 years ago or 1 year ago. I'm not sure how long this board game's been around, but my 10-year-old had a blast playing it. And it was helping focus that balance sheet around passive investments and all the cash flow. And it was really fun to get my kids involved in it. So I really appreciate you bringing that up.
Well, I'm gonna have to look for that, because that might be number one on my Christmas list this year.
Oh, okay, all right.
For my boys, I didn't even know it existed. So
yeah, no, it's pretty cool stuff. Well, Michael, thank you so much for your time today. Really appreciate it. How can people get a hold of you if they'd like to learn more?
Yeah, that's great. And I'm going to, first of all, my contact information is in the tax plan IQ website. And you can also go to our website, RCX Capital Group, and reach out. Just make sure you let us know that tax plan IQ sent. And one thing I would stress, and if you're listening to this podcast, we love hopping on phone calls and educating people, right? There's no cost to do that. It's really important to us that we educate people, we share our experiences, and we help potential partner firms evaluate what partnering with us could look like and how it could help their clients. So please reach out if you're at all considering looking at leveraging Section 1031, partnering with us to deliver some of these solutions to your client base. We'd welcome a quick call to learn more about you and how we may fit.
For sure. Yeah, I bet our listeners appreciate that offer. And I know that you bring a lot of value to the table. So yeah, I would echo that. Make sure you do reach out if you have any questions, if you're considering it for a client, anything like that. Michael and his team will be more than happy to assist you, chat through it, get through all the ins and outs. All right. Well, on that note, we're going to wrap up for today with the podcast. Thanks again, Michael. Appreciate your time. And everyone have a wonderful rest of your day. Take care.
Thank you for listening to the Concierge CPA, hosted by Tax Plan IQ. We believe that every person has a unique message that can positively impact the world. If you are a successful accounting firm owner or influencer who would like to be on this program, please visit JackieMeyerCPA.com, JackieMeyerCPA.com to apply. Please share this on social media and rate us so we can continue our good work. Join our Facebook group called Accounting Firm Influencers, or connect with me on most platforms under Jackie Meyer CPA. Thanks for being accountable to transforming our industry today.